Cassavetes makes adult films with the subtlety and complexity and multivalence of adult emotions. Films about people and relationships that won't be reduced down to the teenage immaturity, these adolescent simplicities of Hollywood films.
I somehow, I seem to have lost the reality of the reality.
People feel very isolated and very frightened, and the idea of going to see one of John's movies is like even more frightening, and they just want to, and it's never been, and people just don't learn that by going through something you do feel a peace and an integrity afterwards, and it just doesn't seem like it's part of the culture at all.
In this country, people die at 21. They die emotionally at 21, maybe even younger now. For those of us who are lucky not to die at 20, we keep on going. And my responsibility as an artist is to help people get over 21. The films are a roadmap through emotional and intellectual terrains that provide a solution to how one can save pain. As people, we know that we are petty, vicious, violent, and horrible. But my films make an effort to contain the depression within us and to limit the depression to those areas that we can actually solve. The resolution of the films is the assertion of a human spirit.
You are told from the very first shot that you can't settle back into your seat and just have an easy time, that movies can also be to energize you, to stimulate you, to provoke you into something beyond what you were prepared to feel before the film began. That's good. It's a shake-up kind of American cinema.
Nick! No, Garson Cross. I'm what brought you home last night.
I'm interested in shaking people up, not making them happy by soothing them. I don't care if people like our films or not. To dig deeply into the way things are, through people, is what I like and what the people who work with me like also. To find out the delicate balance between living and dying. I mean, I think that's the only subject there is.
Are you in there?
John had his office right above the theater where Woman was playing. And he'd say, "Come here, do you want to see our audience?" And I'd say, "Sure." We'd look down, and the people would be lining up. It was very personal with us. Sometimes we'd be up there and we'd be talking about something, and the picture would be playing, and you'd hear the doors go, boom, open, and somebody'd come out really mad, really mad. And then they'd stay there a few minutes, and then sometimes they'd light a cigarette, sometimes they'd walk. Most often, they would just take a breather, and I'd go, "Okay," and they'd go back in, and I thought, well.
If you're not watching and listening carefully, you miss it all. And people come out and say, I don't know what the fuck was about, and it's confusing and it's idiotic, but the French understood it. I mean, they just, yeah. He was hot in France, but then so was Joan of Arc.
When things are original, obviously they're a little more difficult. That's why the viewers usually come out angry. When they're angry, I don't get angry. I kind of like it. It's never easy. I think that it's only in the movies that it's easy. I don't think that people want their lives to be easy. I think it's a United States sickness. In the end, it becomes more difficult. I like things to be difficult so that my life will be easier.
To be able to have that pressure and have that control and having integrity in his movies is not easy to do. John was a really great technical filmmaker, and I don't think people give him credit for that. I think they think he's just this kind of maverick, wild man who shot whatever happened. I don't think you can do that and end up with movies like he made. He was really talented and very skilled and had spent years and years learning how to write and edit and shoot. I mean, it wasn't like you can't just turn a camera on and let people go crazy. I mean, it doesn't work.
His work is structurally maybe, all over the place, but there's some place he's getting that nobody else can get to.
People who imitated John don't know how to do it because he had a rigorous editorial mind. And there's no fat in those pictures. It just seems to be because it meanders in comparison to the average commercial, slick Hollywood movie. He's not like that. He's watching people. And you watch people, it takes time to see what they're like.
He took middle-class life, he put it on the screen, and he said, here, become involved. Because if you're not involved, you won't like these films. You can't sit there as a passive audience. You got to experience what we're going through. That's why we're doing it this way. There were several times in the course of the films where I'd say, boy, that's enough. And he'd say to me, Al, no, that's not enough.
His work inspires us to take chances, to take risks, to not be afraid to push the envelope, whether it's a character, a situation, or even a shot. Your filmmaking technique, your editing. Cassavetes cuts out of a scene in the middle of a sentence.
I have a piece of paper here that says.
A traditional motion picture completes the sentence before you start the next scene. He starts scenes before the thought is completed. He cuts away from music in the middle of a phrase. And that's life. Just the same way one is interrupted in real life.
His films didn't end. They weren't tied up at the end. They just stopped. It was never neat. And that's the way it is in life.
Well, that's life. That's what that was, again, so breathtaking for him to finish on that note, because that's how it is. You don't go out with a bang, with a whimper. They just went on.